Were you into horror movies growing up, like as a kid or a
Oh
teenager?
God, yeah, sure. I was growing up. My parents are split up, so I had like shared custody. So there's this thing with I think kids whose parents are split up. Whereas there's this typically spend most of the time at your mum's or whatever. But then when you go around to your dad's, it's like that's where all the horror movie stuff comes out that could that you wouldn't have been able to see back at your mother's house or whatever. So I have some fantastic memories of like digging out the goriest shit I could possibly find for my like weekend times with my dad.
What sort of stuff were you watching?
I remember there's this bit. I think one of my favorite films ever is this this. Oh my god! I hope I'm not going to execute myself by saying it's Swedish and it isn't. I think it's Swedish. It's called Let the Right One In.
Oh, great film.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's like the budding romance between a vampire kid and a bullied kid. And though it sounds cliche, it's sick. Are you proper big into film then?
I dabble. I don't know. I remember I watched that when I was, I don't know, maybe a few years back when I was 16 or something. But I remember it being, it's one of those films where you've no idea where it's going next, and it kind of just twists and turns and kind of grips a hold of you.
Yeah, dude, it's creepy, man.
They did an American remake of it as well, didn't
There is. I'm terrified of that.
they?
Got like, I mean, that's just the way that's just the way it is. That was like I showed. Have you seen the American In-Betweeners?
Yeah, I've seen like YouTube clips of it.
That shit is fucking hysterical. Like absolutely unintentionally, but brilliant. And I just hope they haven't, done whatever angle they took on that to let the right one in. I don't think it translates to American culture. There's something that's so oppressive about the landscape that the original one is set in. So depressing, which is what makes the sort of romance element of it this like beautiful thing that you gotta like hold on to.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I guess the reason I was kind of asking is because there's a real gothic kind of retro horror movie palette when it comes to kind of music videos that came out around the record
Oh sure, yeah. Yeah. There
that
was.
kind of bleeds out of the music and into it. At what point did that emerge as a kind of a stylistic motif, I guess, of the kind of campaign? And I mean, yeah, I guess it comes from the music. There's definitely a gothic thing kind of going on with some of the tracks on the album.
Yeah, sure. It was like I think we were creating a song called the song Black Tree off of the album. One of our producers, Rupert Liddon, put this kind of orchestral bit in the back of it, which gave it this entirely new angle. And so the song didn't have lyrics at that point, but then when I heard these like gothic, like rising, falling strings, and it turns into like this like depressive, chaotic fucking thing at the end. The lyrics all turned out to be really like oppressive sounding, I guess. So then when we went to make a music video for that with Johnny, oh my god, I've forgotten his second name. Now this is like residual forgetting how to remember things when you speak to people because we've been in it for a million years. We went to make the music video and then this like Stephen King popped up as a reference for it just because of this like I don't know, this creepy angle that the song had. And then for every following video that we made, Stephen King was a motif.
He pops up in is it the video for Bug when
Yeah, it
Kai
does, yeah.
is reading Carrie? Yeah.
Yeah. So that was I guess like a cheeky little wink back to the Black Tree video. And then when we went and did Chinese medicine, there was all this kind of stuff about like I don't know. I think it was The Shining we were trying to get in the Stephen King book with all these multiple doors and corridors and it was like creepy, freaky shit.
It's pretty Lynchian as well. That video, the Chinese medicine one, the kind of like, especially with that kind of weird, kind of like American, kind of classic blue sky with the clouds and stuff outside the house.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, well, thanks a lot for making that comparison. I fucking love David Lynch. That was we definitely brought him up more than a handful of times when we were making that one for sure. Have you seen his like recent thing he's doing? He's doing his weather forecasts.
No, what's that?
So it's so bizarre. It's like he's like sitting in his I don't know like the basement in his office or something, and he goes like today is October 27th, we've got beautiful blue skies. It reminds me of an apple tree, and like all this. He's almost like it's Lynchian weather forecasts. I thoroughly recommend checking that out.
Man, I'm gonna need to look that up. I watched a really interesting podcast with him, probably around the middle of lockdown when he was kind of going quite in depth on his meditation and all that stuff, and
Oh yeah,
speaking about his mental health and all that.
yeah, he's proper into the esoteric, whatever it is.
Transcendental, yeah.
Yeah, too right.
Have you ever meditated?
I remember trying when I was younger, but I think I'm far too ADHD for that shit. It's long gone. Like, I think it was really just more part of the I'm going to try and lie still for a bit, but I don't think anything like substantial was achieved really.
It is tough. It's a weird thing. Just try to shut everything off.
And what about yourself? Have you tried it?
Same as you. I tried it, but I didn't get too far with it. I feel like it's something I'll maybe come back to a wee bit later on.
I mean, I imagine it's something especially important for the current time we're living in to be able to sort of register yourself and whatever else. But it's like shit, dude, I can't chill out for 5 seconds. I've got to be doing something.
I mean, it's quite a. I don't know. I guess you could make it part of your routine. It's quite like a ritualistic thing, isn't it?
Oh, for sure, yeah, yeah. I mean, I think definitely. I mean, when gigs was a thing, the kind of the exercises that I'd go through, I think maybe had that effect where it would sort of like level stresses and everything, and sort of just like you kind of just check in your ego and sort of just like come back down to earth before you go and do that. So I suppose there was like a little like I'd be balancing around the venue for like an hour before we played or something, and that was quite meditative, I think, perhaps.
You still do the chant as well?
That was the chant, yeah.
Yeah.
Have we spoken? We've spoken about that before, right?
Well, I remember seeing you doing it when we were at was it the garage? Almost 2 years ago now, probably.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Yeah, no, that's part of it as well. It's just like shouting this like embarrassing chant and jumping around the place. So you kind of make an idiot of yourself before you go and make an idiot out of yourself for 45 minutes.
I feel like it kind of gets the energy flowing away a bit as well.
Oh,
like
for sure.
It kind of starts, yeah.
Yeah, I think that started like on our first tour. I think I had gone out for a fag or something, and the others were like setting up on stage, and I came on and it was just like it was we were all it was still a good show, but none of us felt like connected with each other. And I think we realized we had to have a moment where the four of us were like knocking our heads off of one another to sort of like you get that sense of brotherhood going, I guess, before we go and to do some weird shit in front of people.
You must have moments on stage as well, though, do you, where you're like, you kind of get that sense of connection and all four of you are completely in sync together.
That is absolutely where like the spirit of the thing comes about for sure. Is the interconnectedness when it's kind of when I can like switch this chord and I don't even have to look at Caius and he can just smack something on the offbeat and I know he's gonna do it like before I've done whatever guitar move I'm going into or we all break together for like a brief silence before we go into another section. Like none of that stuff is planned. It's just what you get with it's just the relationship between us and that just sort of that energy that just comes through. And dude, if you can get that with however many of you are on stage and with the audience as well, motherfucker, that shit's
It's almost like telepathy.
It is. Absolutely. I saw a Nirvana interview where Kurt Cobain looks really spaced out, and he like refers to it as like playing catch with the audience. It's like playing catch, and it is.
I mean, it's funny you mentioned Nirvana because if you listen to the record, like something like Bug, that's got such a kind of early Nirvana kind of vibe to it, like the bleachy kind of maybe bleeding into Nevermind a wee bit, just the kind of tones on it.
Sure, I guess so. I mean, I was definitely one of those. Like the first time I heard Nirvana, it just blew my fucking head off. It was like this. It was a real moment. They did this thing so well that it's like it really, really it encapsulates what it feels like to kind of be out on your own as a teenager and you're trying to find your feet in something, but you're angry at everything. So you find a group of people that are also angry at everything, and it's like this like real this real big thing. It's like kind of impossible to replicate. And there are loads of bands that sound like Nirvana that haven't managed to reach that, but their sphere of influence definitely was probably ringing about in my head at the time I wrote Black.
You mentioned there as well that kind of idea of being like an angry teen and looking for this vehicle to kind of exercise that. Is that kind of reconciled a bit in the time since making music, or have you still kind of got that fire in your belly?
It's still like, I mean, we're our teenage angst will be with us forever. I think. Anyway, I'm 23 now, and it's still like it is still very much within me. It's like it's whenever King None are making new shit, and we're like, and it comes time to do lyrics. The lyrics never come from a relaxed place. It's always like it's always trying to find some connection due to some kind of profound frustration. So yeah, I think so.
If you can use it to kind of conjure up like a frenetic sort of energy, like if you look at something like Sharing a Head with Seth, like it has that angsty thing about it, but it uses it to fuel it, and it kind of bounces along with this off kilter, fire in its belly.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I mean, you know what? I would hope so. Thanks.
I remember you said it sits with Seth. I remember when we spoke about this last time that the idea of him, he is the kind of character that you were pretending to be. And I remember you spoke about like how you have to be careful who you're going to pretend to be because you end up becoming that person.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So at the time, sort of where we were pulling inspiration from Nirvana, I think that sort of that imitation became its own character. So I think we're really quite like boisterous and sort of like it's fucking me against the world, man. And like I think that character is like referred to as Seth. So like to try and separate that imitation like from ourselves was definitely what that song is. Which you know what, at the time it didn't sound that pretentious. That's what time does.
If you kind of separate things in that way though, and you come up with a way of boxing them into something that then become quite easy to tackle and address and kind of form something that feels cohesive around it.
Oh, I think so. Yeah. I mean, as soon as you can make a visual or a story like out of the feeling, it's pretty easy to it's pretty easy to run with. Like when we've got a new song going, if I can find like some physical thing to talk about to like mirror that sensation, then it's sort of like the rest follows very, very quickly. Like it's sort of I think that's the case with almost all our songs, where it's sort of like there's a street or a hotel or a Chinese medicine place or like whatever it is. And it's just like if I can find that thing and manage to use it as like an analogy or a metaphor or whatever it is, then the rest will follow, hopefully.
Was that the same with the title of this record? Once you kind of stumbled upon that, how did that impact the songs that kind of became grouped under it?
I think it was like I think all the songs were so it was so autobiographical of the time. It was like I feel like all of those songs were like self-referencing making an album in a way, with like a bunch of biblic references throughout. Because of those biblic references, I think I've found the title Mass to sort of mirror what music is, which is this huge ethereal thing with no particular shape or form, and also a mass gathering of people coming together. It all bled together like that, really. Just fucking biblic references. I really can't seem to shake them off.
Were you ever religious?
Religious in a way. I think I have a theory that like when people like originally like felt inspiration as like a profound thing and tried to call it something, they ended up referring to it as like God. I think God is like is any particular inspiration that it inspires you to do a thing. So I think we try and create that in our music. I think we're constantly looking out for that and like worshipping that, like as fans of music. I think in that sense, like our jobs is kind of a religious thing, really, in how committed we are to it. But like as far as Christianity and all that goes, like I don't know. I reckon Jesus was like a pretty smart dude, and then someone wrote a book about him.
It's fascinating what you're saying there about God though, and this idea of people using that as a way of almost embodying this inspiration, because it kind of ties into what we were saying about Seth as well, where when you compartmentalize these things and you put them in a place and you create something out of them, they become a lot easier to address and then kind of utilize in various aspects of your life.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, think about people build these massive, beautiful like cathedrals in order to like pay respect and immortalize this thing that they like call God, and they do these incredible paintings and hymns and poems and books and like all of this stuff. They call the inspiration that comes from that is like, God inspired me to do this. God worked through me to do this. But I don't believe that divine inspiration is any different from any like atheists particular inspiration that they draw from. I think God may really just be a name for sort of like potential to be passionate that we all are kind of born with, and that someone put a name to it at some point. Allah, God, Yahweh, whatever.
It's almost like a little bit of imposter syndrome as well, though, isn't it? What you're saying there, like it's like people couldn't believe that they were able to do this themselves, so they had to say that they were channeling, something through them.
Yeah, yeah, fuck yeah, that definitely. That's what I'm about. Yeah, that might be that definitely might be involved. I mean, sort of like we're too fucking as humans, we're so fucking smart. Like at some point, we question everything. I think there's got to be some sort of like automatically generated self appreciation that comes from that. Potentially. I hope this is the regular talking points of this podcast.
We always end up rambling on about something, and it goes off on a tangent, and yeah.
Yeah, good.
The symbol you've got for the album as well, though, is it Nico? It's almost kind of got like a weird religious kind of culty vibe to it as well.
Nico, yeah, that was like in the when we were making the album. I have these big A4 journals that is just like, god damn, I have so many. I could build a little hut with them. I could build a house with them. That's how many I have. I'm just scrolling in them all the time, like whatever we're doing. I drew like an arrow up to like a circle. I don't even know why, really. I think it was some sort of like symbol of optimism I was trying to create. That's like, look up, whatever it is. And then I kind of brought that circle closer to the arrow, and it looked like this kind of Blair Witch symbol. So I started scrolling it everywhere. So in one of these journals, there was just page after page after page of this like symbol, and it looked probably quite psychotic.
Like something like The Shining.
Yeah, right, yeah. I remember like my manager like picked up the book, he's like leafing through it, and he's like, "What the fuck is this?" I was like, "Oh, that's just some Blair Witch shit." I was doing while I was waiting for the vocal booth to be ready or something, and then it was totally his idea to like bring it in as a logo, and then James started referring it to as Nico because it's a oh god, god damn it, what do you call it when you mix up letters in a word and it spells something else?
Anagram.
An anagram, because it's an anagram of like an icon, which is the icon we use. So that was like, and then I liked it because it's Velvet Underground and Nico.
It's almost like another title for the record.
There is oh my fucking dude, the title I've got for the next one, I'm so fucking stoked about. And it's like, I think it is I'm really, really happy with the title Mass, but this one it's another 4-letter biblic reference, but it's like fuck, it's so perfect. Great, I can't wait, dude. It's so good.
Have you got another symbol as well, or just a title?
Oh no, I think we'll be using Nico like forever.
Yeah.
It's like, I really like it as this sort of as this thing that we can like use to bridge our discography together and sort of make it into this consistent thing.
Yeah, unify everything as one kind of body and one thing.
Have you seen, talking about consistency, have you seen the White Stripes Greatest Hits coming out?
No, I didn't see that.
That is fucking so, I saw this, they, like Jack White's live official whatever account on Instagram, like announced it was happening. And I can't think of another band that is like, has had it as a consistent a career. It just makes so much sense that like a playlist or a compilation from the White Stripes is just like That shit's brilliant. If that shit ends up being the best album of this year, that will be disappointing because I can't fucking wait for that shit, dude. That's gonna be great.
They're another band that like aesthetically kind of are just perfectly spot on.
It's genius. It's actually genius. Just like three colors, Delta blues, but amplified forever. Just literally forever.
No, it's perfect. What other sort of stuff is in the notebooks that the symbol came out of? What other things you kind of draw and write in them?
It's like, oh my god, like every song that's ever come out and not come out from King Nun, a bunch of sketches, poems, I don't know, everything, little stories, all this kind of stuff. That is everything that goes through my head. I think I'm on 20 at the moment. Let's get something. It's like I don't want all of it to like stay in this book, but I think some of it's quite good. So I stick it up on Instagram every now and then. But then you got to kind of wrestle with putting shit on Instagram, where it's like, you know, am I just like exposing shit because of the algorithms, or you know, or is this actually worthy?
You need to keep some stuff for yourself as well, though. There's something about having pieces of art that you don't show anyone else that you kind of have a different relationship with it.
Oh yeah, oh for sure, yeah. Every hand that I fucked up stays with me. Every weird pupil that's accidentally pointing in a different direction, that stays hidden.
I guess it's kind of similar to, you know, when it comes to being in a band now, you kind of have to sell your personality a wee bit, and that kind of becomes part of the marketing and everything.
Too
But
right, dude. Absolutely. It's like it's now more than ever. It seems like the bands are sort of shifting to the mystique like has to disappear in place for a character that is so larger than life that it is, you know, easy to grapple with and you can jump on with it. I mean, you can't sell yourself through live shows anymore. So I suppose that is a valid point more than ever, I think.
are there like aspects of yourself that you kind of consciously keep back and don't let into the bleed into the band, just so that you kind of have stuff to keep to yourself, and you're not really giving away, you know, everything?
I don't think so. I'm like a totally open book. I think I think like doing weird shit on stage for so long sort of like kind of annihilated whatever like nervousness or social anxiety I may or may not have had. It's all gone. Like I couldn't recommend singing in a band enough for someone that is like has difficulty socially or whatever it is. Cause it just fucking like my ego knows no bounds.
How old were you the first time you got on stage?
I think I think all the energy that we have now was there, but probably less than half of the musicianship. I think the first time I got on stage in front of people, I was like 13 or 14 or something. It was like a school concert, and I just remember power sliding like all over the stage, and occasionally I'd make it back to the microphone, but maybe not. I was sort of just imitating Angus Young up and down like his little duck walk, just doing that shit all around. But I think it was actually like playing music or like singing I was more scared of than making a fool of myself. Clowning around has like always been something that massively appeals to me. But singing in front of people was a different thing. That was like a journey.
I mean, your voice has changed a lot. Your singing voice.
I think so. Yeah, yeah. I had to drop an American accent. I think that was like that's like a big thing. I think all British singers when they start with American, it's such a musical accent, and it's so easy to make stuff rhyme. And you can't sing Bob Dylan in like an English accent. Nothing rhymes. Suddenly all of us here's a hill, here's like turn into yeah, you know what I mean?
Were you consciously going for an American accent, or was it just naturally what you kind of were drew to when you opened your mouth and started singing?
I think it was like I think all the bands I was into were all American, as well as all the blues music I was into. Because super into bluesy stuff. I think the only English group I was into really were AC/DC. I think that was kind of it. And even that is sort of like, it's like sort of like it's really an accent.
It's just such a manic energy on stage. Like it's chaos amplified to the nth degree.
That's absolutely what attracted me to it. It was like I remember hearing ACDC like live, and it was just like something. It was like the crowd was screaming, the guitar was feeding back, and it just felt so like wild and just like not polished at all. Even though sort of later down the line, realizing that that works because they are incredible musicians and they play so tightly together. All of this like noise, everything coming together into this like terrifying thing was so interesting. So then later down the line, when I found like the Velvet Underground and they were using sort of elements of noise rock, that made total sense. And then we had a crack at it.
You strike a balance though. Like you strike a balance between sometimes the more kind of melodic, popular kind of chorusy driven stuff, and then but you have that kind of like you say noise rock kind of foundation that twists it in this weird and wonderful direction.
Hey, thanks a lot. Yeah, yeah, I appreciate it. I think we're embracing noise rock at the moment a lot. We're doing like a lot of kind of experimental backing stuff at the moment. Yeah, in fact, I hadn't thought about it until now, but we might be harkening back to that sort of love of ours, which is shared, I suppose.
After that first album, like you kind of you construct this soundscape in this world that's so instantly recognizable. You know, where we're speaking about the kind of gothic aspect to it as well. Does it make you want to mess with it more or less once you've found something that works so well?
I don't know. I think I'm usually like unaware of it until unaware of anything consistent that we've done kind of until the process is long behind us because it's like I just think music and everything artistic you do it needs to come from your feet, so it will always be consistent as long as it's coming from you and what you desperately want. But it's difficult to look from the inside looking out, you know what I mean? I don't know, I think there's just an emphasis in making sure that we're doing what we feel like we need to do. And as long as we do that, it will always be consistent, sort of whether I always know it or not. So I suppose that's like a little blind faith that we're all allowed from time to time.
Is that something you kind of came to with time, like being able to kind of trust in yourself?
um, I think like all musicians or everyone that does anything artistic has that from the get go. But then just like learning to keep hold of that is really where it starts getting challenging. Like amateur musicians that don't really know a lot about what they're doing can sometimes overshoot their own technical abilities by a long fucking way. Like like it's the something about naivety and like greenness and just like unbridled passion for something can make you like create shit that's really fucking great, but you don't know why it happened or how it happened. And then once you start knowing stuff, then your brain starts going like, well, this should go here and this should go there and that can go there. But that more calculated approach can narrow things down a lot. I definitely think we all had it like right at the beginning, and then right before I went into the album, I think that was like my sort of artistic midlife crisis. I was like, oh shit, I know stuff about how to make chords together, and now I actually have to like kind of think about stuff before I do it. And then throughout the process of making the album, I kind of like forgot to sort of be overly intelligent about stuff, which is fantastic. And now just shoot from the hip, absolutely just take it as it comes and just shit it out all the time. Don't think about it. Let's fucking have a jog.
I mean, yeah, you mentioned that naivety there. Transformer, that was one that was written right as you were kind of starting off, wasn't it? Was it not like one of the first songs that came out of the band? Did it kind of have that naivety present for you?
Oh, big time. I think my mum always reminds me that I made Bug when I was like 13 or 14 or something.
Really?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I think that may have been the first song I ever wrote, I think. So, and it was like, and then Transformer followed quite closely after. So I can't like say it's difficult to like find where those songs came from. because it was just like, because it was, I didn't fucking know chords or shit. So it's like, I guess that's why, like, when you look at the chords on those songs, they're all like a lot of open strings. There's not really any chord shapes. That's beautiful. Fuck chord shapes. Fuck old jazz.
Like Transformer as well, you can kind of hear. I know we were speaking about earlier when you kind of first found music, and it's that idea of everyone being, kind of young and angry and teenage angsty. But that's so present in Transformer because you have that line. Is that how can you hate in a place like this?
Oh
Like
yeah,
that kind of drive. Yeah, yeah,
yeah, too right. I mean, I think that was just that might have even been grappling for something to complain about. Who knows?
yeah. It's weird being in that place as a teenager because it's like you kind of have no worries in the world, and as a result of that, everything feels like the end of the world.
Oh, too right. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Everything's so raw and unbridled and like unbearably vibrant all the time. I suppose it's easier to replicate because it's just this like just ambient screaming noise that you can kind of just like fall into pretty easily. But it also exists in like, I guess I don't know whether to call this adulthood. I don't know what I'm doing, but like it also exists now. I think it's just like it's just letting go a bit and just letting it come from the feet and just like not trying to be too intelligent about anything.
Kind of retain that simplicity and the kind of the spark that originally worked at the heart of the band.
Yeah, exactly. I think like the instinct to make music comes first, and then kind of be intelligent about it if you want later. which I kind of I'll opt in for imagery and stuff after the basic idea is there, and the basic idea comes from like immediate experience. And I'll start going, oh, that reminds me of a postbox. And then, later on, Postbox by King Nun. There was a postbox. I went to it. It was great. It's an analogy for a breakup.
You have some stuff in the album that is like pretty straight up as well, like Chinese medicine. That's kind of it's a pretty kind of open song. Like there's not as much imagery going on there. It's kind of just pretty honest about this kind of search for putting your faith in something.
Oh yeah, sure. I mean, I think that was like help this old dude to an ambulance once, and just started like banging on about some stuff. And then, well, I think like the chorus, like "keep my hands in place, keep my head on," is like it sounds like that is just my hypochondria wrote that. It's sort of like that might be a mix of the two actually. And it's kind of using this sort of imagery stuff and then just letting go and just sort of screaming about deep seated concerns.
Yeah, kind of juxtaposes them,
Yeah, yeah,
gives them that impact.
yeah. I reckon so. Thanks.
You were saying earlier that kind of drive from instinct as well to write songs to kind of keep a hold of that rawness that was at the heart of the band. Is that what motivates you in the studio as well? Is it you kind of have to rely upon instinct instead of consciously thinking about things, or what's the kind of ratio like there?
I reckon when we go into the studio, I've usually found the zeitgeist of that particular time in our lives of when we go in to do it, and where the songs will be written as we're going through the like production process, or we might add little bits or subtract little bits, sort of depending on how it sort of hits the speakers and stuff. Because it's a different ball game when you turn something live into a recording. Like there's different kind of techniques you've got to approach to reach the same effect. But so I'll have the basic idea, which is like, I suppose in the case of I Have Love, it was like a heavy emphasis on kind of optimism and kind of sort of embracing shitness in the pursuit of having a good time. And then in Mass, I think it was sort of like this need to step up to the plate and this sort of coming of age feeling I was having, I guess, that comes out of sort of being in your early 20s. But through the process, it kind of grows into this thing. And then I suppose that's where the choice to start trying to be clever about it sort of shows up. So that's like the instinct is there. There is a vague outline, and then it goes like, oh, maybe it's time to add a black tree into the mix.
At what point do you kind of feel everything fall into place then? When you're speaking there about kind of having it like consciously link up, at what point does that kind of all collate?
I think it's kind of at some point during the process. I couldn't actually tell you really. I think it's always happened though. I would say at some point throughout recording, I always kind of go like, oh shit, that's what we're trying to do. I get it.
What would you say is the most important question to ask yourself when you're making a record? Or what was the most important question you asked yourself when making the first record?
Like purpose, I think. Like, does this need to exist? Because like this is all like this whole. I suppose my reason for doing this, in a lot of ways, is like creating a body of work to leave behind, or something that I can kind of reflect my own experience and sort of create it as this thing that will sort of last and have an effect on as many people as I can sort of give it to. So I think the most important reason is like, do I need to say this right now? And if I don't, then there is stuff I need to say. So we should probably do that. Purpose, yeah, absolutely. The music isn't there to sustain the band. The band is there to create the music. What we're making is first and foremost the most important thing. Because being in a band isn't particularly rewarding by itself, but having content that you're like, oh my god, I just called it content now, but it's but content, fucking hell. But the music, having good music, is incredibly rewarding, or like music that I think is good and that hopefully other people think is good is what it is about. So yeah, purpose, absolutely. Like this, like I think this needs to exist. I haven't looked back on the debut too much. I just know that we're all really proud of it, which is fantastic. But it's like I am fucking knee deep in the next one now. I can see this record very, very fucking clearly. It's difficult to look back on past work now because I understand this one now. This is the shit that we're doing right now.
Does it almost reframe past work in a different light now that you know what the next thing is?
I suppose it would, yeah. I mean, I think it may not have been long enough with Mass yet to have that sort of retrospective look at it. It's sort of like when I look back to like I Have Love, that absolutely totally makes sense to me in context of like what was going on at that time with whatever particular breakup, and the fact that I'm like really hypochondriac sort of started becoming a thing. So it makes sense that I started leaning into optimism and sort of embracing kind of darkness in the pursuit of something better. And then Tulip and Hung Around makes sense to me totally now. May not have been long enough with Mass. Maybe when we're done with this new body of work, Mass will sort of click into place. But at the moment, it seems like it's still relevant. Like it's like I've not got any thoughts on it or sense of nostalgia just yet.
Yeah, it's maybe as well because I mean the some of the experiences that forged it. And I know you guys were going through a wee bit of a tough time when that happened. If they haven't quite come to a sense of closure yet, it's then maybe hard to reframe the music that's about that in a new light or in a perspective light.
I think making the record may have been therapeutic enough where we kind of exercised those things. Like it was definitely that, like making that album was like, it was definitely like an event. Like there was lots and lots and lots of shit going on. Shit was going down. But I think as we were kind of singing about it and pushing through it, those concerns are less so now. Though sort of our feelings about them are more relevant than ever, I think, at the present moment.
How did it impact you as a group of four individuals as well? What was your relationship like as a band at the start of that recording process and then compared to it at the end?
I think we know each other better than we know ourselves now. But I think that may have come out of touring like a lot, like following the album. I think it's like you've become unimaginably close to people that you're in a band with, going through everything that you need to do. It's like I feel like we really know each other very, 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 very well. Like, and maybe after the sort of we spent many, many, many months on the album as well. So that was the longest we would have ever worked on something with the four of us in a room for that long. we'd ever worked before. So I think maybe we know each other like a hell of a lot more. But other than that, I don't know if anything's changed really. We're still kind of the same dudes, just sort of kind of up to trouble as we always were, really.
What have you learned most about the other guys in the band then, over the course of being in a group with them? You know, you said that you know them better than, or you know each other better than you know yourselves.
So yeah, definitely. I don't I don't know. It's kind of I don't know how best to answer that honestly. I think I mean there's just I don't know, there's lots of things. There's petty things and there's lovely things. But it's every now and then someone will mention something that is a particular pattern in like my behavior, like whether it would be good or like jokily snarky, whatever it is, and I go like, oh fuck yeah, that is actually summed me up there. That is absolutely true. I do that.
Can you get a perspective on yourself from your own songwriting as well? Like in the way that you can bounce off someone there and they give you a completely objective view of yourself. Can you get that when you write a song about yourself and then kind of look back on it?
I reckon so. Yeah. I don't think I'm like self-aware enough for that. I think that's like that might be something for like I don't doubt that that will become apparent in like in years to come. Maybe I don't know, 30s, 40s or something. I know myself enough to know that like I can't see the full picture yet. I'm yet to move past this kind of time in my life, as it were.
I guess it's like that saying that you spend the second 20 years of your life trying to sort out all the shit you did in the first 20.
Yeah, fuck yeah. I guess so. Yeah, yeah. I don't consider myself responsible or like adult enough to kind of have an objective view yet. Really.
It's weird how everyone gets classed as an adult at 18 when it feels like I mean, I don't feel like an adult. The road feels so long to get
Yeah,
to that point.
it does, doesn't it? I remember like thinking in America, you've got to stay at school like a lot further than you do here. Where it's like I remember I was in San Francisco and we were on tour. And I have some American family. And my dad's brother moved to California like years and years and years ago, and he's like he's a resident citizen. I can't remember one or the other. I'd like did this huge walk through San Francisco. Oh goodness gracious! I remember sitting on this hill, and it's like I was looking over the whole city. I could like see the Golden Gate Bridge and all of this shit going on. I went, "What? What the fuck? It's the movies." Anyway, that was a tangent. But, but I remember he said at one point he was like, they want you to decide your life when you're 18. It's crazy. You've got to be 21 here. It's yeah, it's bloody fucking young, isn't it?
I mean, people can leave school at 16 as well. Like I look back and I think at the time you don't really think of it as a thing, but now you look back and you see people leaving school at 16, you think that's fucking nuts.
That,
Like you're a kid.
yeah, I'll tell you what. I can't remember how long I was in school, and I got kicked out like pretty early. I can't remember. Yeah, I don't know if I made it to 18 actually. Now that I think about it,
I was 17.
17. Did you get kicked out?
I didn't get kicked out. I left.
Ah,
I didn't like it.
why was that? Why was that? How come you left?
I just well, I went to uni at 17 because I was like I knew that I wanted to leave school because I hated it. So I just kind of fucking I don't know knuckled down for the last month before exams and then just got what I needed and
Oh,
left the place. Moved 100 miles away.
bloody hell!
Where about did you grow up?
In Southwest London. So like I've been moving about a lot. So like Twickenham, Richmond, Sheen, all around there. Kew at one point for a little bit.
So how far do you stay from where you kind of grew up now? Are you kind of a wee bit away from it, or are you still pretty close?
I'm still fairly close. I'm in Wandsworth like most of the time now. So it's like so it's still kind of southwest London. Yeah, I drop through every now and then. I check it out.
I guess it's a wee bit different though. It's a bit or a wee bit deceiving maybe because you're usually on tour so much of the time that you're not really there. Or I guess now it's changed. But
Yeah, big time. I remember having actually, yeah, in when I was in San Francisco going to see my uncle, like sitting on that hill looking over San Francisco. I had this thing that like really went through my head where it's like we'd been touring for so long and America is just so alien. I remember kind of sitting up on this hill and having this incredible like Like I don't think I live anywhere now. Like I don't like I don't really think I like need to be anywhere at any particular time. I really feel like I'm kind of living wherever I'm at now. I mean, I do have a place, but it's like I kind of feel like I could be from anywhere at this point. I guess that's kind of what being in a city like every day for like 2 years does to you, though.
That sounds kind of freeing in a weird way as well, though. Like not being chained down to anything.
Yeah. I think so. Touring is a beautiful thing for that. It really is. It like you get so aware of so many cultures because London is a bubble. It is. It is absolutely. It is one particular thing, and being outside of that and being exposed to like a lot of different cultures and things is beautiful, magnifique.
You meet a lot of interesting people.
Big time, yeah, for sure. My like social battery like overcharges on tour. I just want to know everybody. What is this person from Nashville like? Or like in Spain, whatever it is.
Does it make you think differently about like London and where you come from when you kind of see how, vast and different the world is?
Big time, yeah. Like the just everything just feels so much smaller compared to the big picture. Like I can remember sneaking out when I was younger and walking around Twickenham, Richmond, whatever it was, and just feeling I felt like I was in the big city at the time. And it was like there could be something happening around any corner. And if I just like adventure around for long enough, then I'll sort of, run away with the circus. And then I did run away with the circus, and I realized that the world is fucking huge.
I feel you. There's a weird kind of. I just moved to Glasgow like a month ago, a few
Oh yeah.
weeks back, and I still kind of feel that weird kind of touristy thing, like little boy wandering around the big city. Like it just feels so vast compared to where I was prior.
I fucking love that. That is the crack.
It is
That is,
it's a nice feeling in a weird way, yeah. Like it's a bit like what you're saying on tour, like it's a wee bit freeing. Like it feels like anything could happen, for good or for worse.
it is a. Where were you at before?
So I was in Edinburgh, but then I went back to like small town Aberdeenshire for lockdown.
Oh, I see. Oh, I see. Right.
So lots of fields.
Tell you what, I'm envious of you for Glasgow. Though. That is a beautiful place. I've always seriously enjoyed my time there. It's like these big kind of like a bit like gothic architecture, like mixed in with a like whatever modern thing.
Yeah, so we're kind of hybrid.
It is fantastic. Love it. It makes perfect sense to me that they're shooting a new Batman there.
Yeah, I stay right next to it actually. It's like the old kind of necropolis, Victorian graveyard. All this like wonderful kind of crooked, crumbling gravestones and architecture. It's very atmospheric and
Yeah,
gloomy and gritty.
that's Batman as fuck. I hope they finish that quick. Fucking Robert Pattinson's got COVID, isn't it? Shit. Did you see the trailer for that new Batman thing?
Yeah, it's the Riddler, isn't it?
I'm
Paul
so
Dano.
fucking hyped for it. It looks great. It looks so good. I'm not usually one for comic book films. I'm massive into comic books, but not so much like the films. But this was like it was gritty and it looked like Seven, the film Seven. It was like it had that kind of vibe. It was like fucking depressing and it was like, yeah, fucking yes. This is what I need. Batman set in Glasgow.
Oh, how old were you when you got into comic books?
I think maybe like 15, 16, something like that. I think it was I think I read like Neil Gaiman's Sandman, and then that kind of which is
It's a heavy one to start with.
yeah, big time. But I think it kind of introduced me to the nature of comic books is basically like imply the movement of a film with paintings and like screenwriting. And these two things put together is such a fucking cool medium because like you're not restricted by physicality of making a film and you're not restricted by like having to be overly verbose like with a novel or whatever. It's just the perfect visual like novel mix. And when you've got really good screenwriting and really good paintings, like in the case of Neil Gaiman or like Art Spielman, then these things come together in such a fantastic way. It's brilliant.
Is Art Spillman, is that the guy that did Mouse?
Mouse, yeah. Mouse is so fucking great. I mean that's another fantastic example of using that medium in a way that couldn't be done any other. Like depicting the Jewish people in the Holocaust as mice, and then the Germans as like these kind of pigs. is like a really interesting thing to do visually.
It's a perfect metaphor.
It's really scary and horrifying for the time, but that's exactly what it's trying to achieve, I suppose. Yeah, it's done masterfully. It really is. I love that book.
In which ways can music kind of serve as a medium? You know how we're speaking about that comic books is kind of this very specific thing, and it has this manner in which it can tackle things that no other medium can. In what way can music communicate things that other mediums can?
I think music can be like a complement to life in a way that no other art form can be. Which is like if you watch a film, you can print yourself onto that film, but music kind of prints itself onto you. Oh God, that was so weird. It's like I remember like there's an interview with MGMT that I saw once where they were talking about like that when they hear a song they're really into, they end up living in that song for a period of time. Which is to say that I think that music like sort of goes with you throughout life, and you see yourself in the music, and through interpretation it kind of sounds like it's about your life at that time if you're really into it. And I don't think any other art form can do that. The experience of listening to music is like you see yourself in it as much as it sounds like it was like written about your life, which it can do on occasion. But it can be like an accompaniment to living, I guess that's why it's unique.